Welcome to the session in testing during development life cycle. At the end of this session, students will be able to define the testing areas during development life cycle. Testing is one of the most critical process of the software development life cycle. It helps companies to perform a comprehensive assessment of software and ensure that their product fulfills the client's need. Here, the testing phases of the software development lifecycle help companies to identify all the bugs and errors in the software before the implementation phase begins. If software bugs are not resolved before deployment, then they can adversely affect the client business. Now, let us discuss here the life cycle phases and testing associated with it. This discussion is based on the consideration that development methodology follow some development life cycle. For example, here we will consider waterfall cycle. So, with this respect, here we are discussing very first, that is requirement testing. Requirement testing involves mock running of future application using the requirement statements to ensure that requirements meet their acceptance criteria. This type of testing is used to evaluate whether all requirements are covered in requirement statement or not. This type of testing is similar to building use cases from the requirement statement. If the use case can be built without making any assumption about the requirements, by referring to the requirements defined and documented in a requirement specification documents, they are considered to be good. The gaps in the requirement may generate queries or assumptions which may possibly leads to risk that the application may not perform correctly. Gaps also indicate something as implied requirement, where the customer may be contacted to get the insight into business processes. So, it is a responsibility of business analyst to cover implied requirements to expressed requirements. Now, the characteristics of requirement verification or review include some of the specific points like completeness. Completeness of requirement statement as per organization standards and formats. It must cover all standards like performance and user interface expected by customer organization. And second, that is about the clarity. That one is expected by the user at each step of working while using an application. It must include the expected output by the customer. It may be in the form of error messaging, screen output, printer output, etc. Okay. The next one is regarding measurability. It is expected results, possibly in numerals, so that these results can be tested. So, test case will have expected results which must satisfy measurement criteria defined. Clear? And next one is regarding testability of the scenarios defined in requirement statements is must. Some requirements like application must work 24 by 7 for 10 years may not be directly testable. Again, regarding apart from this, there we can add like traceability of requirements further down the development life cycle must be ensured. That is, requirement traceability starts at requirement phase and gets populated as one goes down the life cycle. So, in the next level, there is we will perform design testing. Design testing involves testing of high level design as well as low level design. High level design testing covers mock running of future applications which other prerequisites as being executed by the targeted user in production environment. And this testing is similar to developing flow diagram from the design where flow of information is tracked from start to finish. When the flow is completed, the design may be considered as good. Wherever the flow is not defined and not clear about what where it will lead to, there are defects with the design which must be corrected. Okay. About the low level design, here the system requirements and technical requirements are mapped with the entities created in design to ensure adequacy of detailed design. Okay. Here design verification talks about reviewing the design, and this ensures that design meets their exit criteria like completeness of design in terms of covering all possible outcomes of processing and handling of various controls as defined by requirements. Second, clarity of flow of data within an application and between different applications. The next one is testability of a design, which talks about software structure and structural testing. Then we can add some more like traceability with requirements. Design must cover all requirements. Okay. So here there is a question, that is requirement testing performed to ensure that, with the following option, choose any one of the correct answer. Requirement testing performs to ensure that requirement meets the acceptance criteria. Now in the next level, here we are performing the code testing. Code testing includes like code files, tables, stored procedures, etc. And these are written by developers as per the guidelines, standards, or details design specifications. Okay. In reality, developers do not implement requirements directly, but they implement detailed design as defined by the designer. And code testing is done by using stubs drivers as required. And also here code review is done to ensure the code files by like readable and maintainable in future. There are adequate common comments available. The next one is testable in unit testing. Then traceable with requirements and design, that is anything extra as well as anything missing can be considered as a defect. The next, testable in integration and system testing. And at last we can add like optimize to ensure better working software, that is reusability creates a lighter system. Okay, so here now we are moving for the test scenarios. That is the next level after the code test. The test scenarios are written by testers to address testing needs of a software application. Test cases are derived from the test scenarios which are related to requirements and designs. Test scenarios can be functional as well as structural, depending upon the type of requirement and design they are addressing. Like test scenario should be clear and complete, representing end-to-end relationship of what is going to happen and the possible outcome of such processing. Next, there is a test scenario should cover all requirements, that is test scenarios may be prioritized as per the requirement priorities. Then scenarios should be feasible so that they can be constructed during testing. Then test cases should cover all scenarios completely, right? And here we can add one more, like test scenarios and test cases must be prioritized so that in case of less time availability, the major part of the system is tested. These are my references. Thank you.